Give you guys a shop update. You've probably heard a lot of this, most of you, but see, that pole is delivering power to my neighbor's house, but also to my shop, my blacksmith shop. So I called the power company. It's like, hey man, I need you to drop a line from that pole to my shop. And they were like, yeah, that's cool, but there's just one problem. They came out and looked, and that pole right there with wires going back over there. There was a pole by the gate, and those incoming lines that are going to this pole were going straight to this pole. And I'm sure you're getting motion sickness watching this, but that meant that those lines were coming straight over this building. So you can see that pole at the end, which delivers power on down to my house and over to this house. So they were like, yo man, we can't do that. We won't do that. So they charged me a big chunk of money to buy a new pole and have them come out and sink it in the ground right there. And that's fine, but it was a really big chunk of money. I figured that them coming from this pole down here, they might charge me $1,500. Had no reason to know that. Just a wild guess, so I earmarked $5,000. That big pole right there was a lot more than that. So they came out and did that big pole, and I was like, yay, all right. Talking to the foreman, I was out here, I was like, hey man, so he's going to leave me a panel in there that I can connect to. And he was like, no. You got to go buy this meter loop. So McCoy's sells these. It's that pole right there with everything installed on it. Another $1,000. I had to sink it in the ground right here and cement it in and ground it and all that good stuff. And once I had that done, I called them, and they came and did their thing from that transformer to my shop. So big rigamaroo, but I was so excited. So with all that, fine and dandy. You got to pay the piper, right? See how this looks. I'm gonna see if you can watch me get in this building. So my wife and I, we were running service entrance loop cable from that meter, because they stop right there. That little meter thing, they connected up there. It comes down to there, and there's a breaker in there, and everything after that is mine. It's my responsibility. So we went and bought everything we needed. We don't live in town, so we don't gotta ask permission. Did pretty good. So we come, and my shop's kind of a mess, kinda. But so you can see when you come in, any tools I get at a good price or free, I just take. So I got a whatever that is, radio alarm saw. There's all my steel. Get it in usually 10-foot pieces. As well as just scrap or anything else. But my shop proper, of course, my power hammer, never been hooked up. That was a big push for this power, get my own power, because I had to, we have freezers. You can't see beyond that wall, but the shop goes down like 3 more car bays, and we got freezers in there for our meat, right? So, but I was going to get, obviously we needed to run our own freezers. And my neighbor, whose house this was all powered by before, great guy, Jim, we're friends. And he was like, cool, hook up your freezers. Do what you want. Oh look, there's my beer. That's been here for 2 years. I use it to size my bottle openers. I've never opened it. Anyway, he was like, yeah, do what you got to do. He's a cool dude, but I wanted to get it done. So I went and bought, after all that, I bought a meter box. And it came with 2 20-amp breakers. I bought 2 30s and a 50. A 50 being for my power hammer. But the wife and I were gluing this pipe. We were running this pipe from the outside into here to run the service entrance cable loop, 4-aught, high big wire. Oh, here's some of it. There's the remnants. So it's like the ground and the wires. It's big stuff, right? And I was gluing that piece to that piece. I was holding that with my left hand, like underhand grip like this, and that was my right. We had put glue, in there. We're old pros at that from running plenty of PVC. And I was pushing it together and snap, snap, snap. I wound up breaking the tendon in my arm. It goes from, here, let's set this down. All right, okay, it shows the shot. So, from your bicep, a tendon goes into your radius, your arm bone, your forearm bone, and that snapped. I heard it happen. I felt it happen. It was really weird. There was no pain at first. I just heard in my mind, I felt like I heard a muffled pop, 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 like you're popping bubble wrap. Pop, 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 pop. Several of them. And then in here, I felt it. Like if you have Christmas lights and you pull tick, 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 and they all start coming down like that, I felt that in here. Tick, 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 I felt it coming apart. And then my wife, who was helping me run that cable, obviously, we both saw, God, I'm so weak now, but we both saw this muscle it looked like a bad sci-fi movie, like aliens under the skin. Under the skin, this all kind of crept and retracted up. And so, like I said, at first there was no pain, but it weirded me out. Like I felt it happen. I knew it happened, and so I was like, "Well, crap." That was January 10th, I had to go sit down. Like I said, at first it didn't hurt. It started hurting later, but I had to go sit down. But I was so excited, man, because I was going to get this shot done. I had power here. Obviously, the magic happens here. Forge and anvil. That's like 99% of what you need, right? But got the gas forge over there. I need to reline. Need to make tool racks for all this. I just had come in and pretty much kind of phone crap down and started working. That's how I roll, man. Let's just get to making stuff, right? Not always the best way. So finally got power. Everything was kind of linchpinned on that. That was my hook, man. That was what I needed. So I got power and got hurt right then. So we went to the ER. They can't do much for you there. They gave me some pain pills and it was like, go see an ortho. Went and saw an ortho. Anyway, the surgery is routine. They make this incision right here, which you can still see, and they open it up. They fish up here. You can watch it on YouTube, and they find that tendon and pull it down. It's usually frayed, and that's what they told me. I heard that pop, 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 that, and felt it was like all the frayed ends popping. But anyway, they sew that together to kind of, tie it up, and then they drill a hole in this bone and put an anchor through there and pull it down into that bone. So that's the fix. But in doing that, I've got just the worst luck of all. They pinched a nerve on the back side here somewhere, but this hand is paralyzed. Like I can't, like if I leave this, like, okay, first of all, I can do that. I can lift the wrist. Doc said that was good. But I can't, like, I'm trying to do that. And I just won't do it. And if I lower this, there must be some room. I don't know. I can kind of do something, but essentially that's gone. So that coupled with all this really kind of tore me up. So it's kind of a shop update, not real glamorous. I'll take you on a little tour of this messy shop because it was messy to begin with, and then, oh, that's where Cat lives. So I got a shop cat. Her food's there, and I feed her up there. There's some shorter pieces of steel. Got to have a lot of steel. Here's my quasi tool rack. Most of you guys, especially blacksmiths, will have these hanging up, so you got to grab the head of the hammer or the head of the tongs, and that makes sense from a space perspective, but I like to be able to I want to grab things by the handle, so I'm going to have to figure that out. I'll probably just change to the normal method and hang everything up vertically so that I can just grab it, but this little rack here is getting out of hand. I'm getting more tongs and more hammers and more everything, and so it's getting messy, so that needs to probably get fixed. This rack, which you might notice was an AV rack from like a high school, back when we had CRT TVs, it needs to go against the wall here, as does my toolbox. So those two getting up against the wall will be a big improvement. Let me stand back a little and you can see what we got going on. We got the bandsaw, the typical kind of like Harbor Freight thing. Cut a lot of steel with that. I've got this vise I've had for decades. And I welded it onto a plate, onto a pole, and cemented it into a 5-gallon bucket with I think it was 3 80-pound bags of cement. Thought, man, we're rocking, but we're not. It's heavy, it's very heavy, but it weeble wobbles very easily. So for blacksmithing stuff like twisting and stuff, it's not very good. It's also not a blacksmith vise. So although I will say this is a Harbor Freight vise, and I have beaten the crap out of it, and it's made to twist this way and twist this way, and I just welded those so that it could never move. But it's kind of weathered. It's lived a good life, man. It's really done me right. But obviously not a blacksmith vise. Over here, look, I got a tiny little chinky sander. I use the wire wheel on that grinder a lot. That's how I finish everything. And then you got, of course, a bench grinder. That's kind of handy. The drill press, tabletop drill press, 100% need that. And then back here, you got a chop saw, which I never use because those discs are slow and ugly. And if you look, got a Hilti drill there I need to put back in the thing. Everything's covered in soot and just debris needs to be cleaned up. Over here, there's my blacksmithing dress. We don't play darts in here. Anyway, little table full of crap. There's a bottle of oil and stuff there. I don't really do that much, but it's a metal table, so it's kind of nice. That needs to be just put together. Back around, you got the bandsaw. Like I said, that's invaluable. That, hammer and anvil, makes my life. And then over here, you got your welder. And then it's a full circle back to the toolbox. So back in here, I brought this. I had built these little benches, and I brought this out here and used our old patio furniture pads, hoping the wife would come out here. And she has, to her credit, but, watching some dude blacksmith's not her thing. Got a couple of metal cabinets moved in. I was really getting into, I got these tables from a school. They're metal as well. So there's one, and then the other one's in the other side. I'm going to bring them over here. And you can probably see there's a post anvil right there. I mean, a post vise right there, a good one. Like you're supposed to use. I'd acquired all this and was in the process, there's my bags of coal. I was in the process of, I was going to get this thing ready when I got hurt. So here, the video's going to be weird when I walk. Here's one of those tools I got. It's kind of a snipper. You can see it's a, snipper. Shink. You cut stuff off. Dude had that for 75 bucks. I offered him a bunch of pork, and he went for it, and we met up in Temple. He's a great guy. He's awesome. I'm going to link to his channel below because he really does some stuff too. Anyway, and there's a drum sander. I was going to use kind of like a planer on raw edge wood when I make shelves and tables and such. Here's just a metal stand I got in an auction. I think it had a saw or a drill or something on it before, and I took it off. I was going to mount my post vise to it. Oh, and I went on a limb. I've had this Vevor 2x72 sander since October, and it's still in the crate. But all the stuff from that bench, all my sanding, grinding stuff is going to go on 2 tables right here, and there's another door I can open here. So anyway, that's what we're going. Upstairs there, up in that loft, is a bunch of stuff. It's a bunch of my son's stuff, and we just don't have the heart to go through it yet. Anyway, bunch of steel, it's all discombobulated. The power hammer is going to go, damn it. That's going to go right here. Can I zoom out, Chris? In between, there's a double open door, and obviously there's a double open door. The power hammer is going to go right here on this, right here. I'm going to, pour a cement base for it. It's a Say-Handler. It's got the base on it that they sell. Had that thing for 2 years now. Never got it installed yet. Due to mainly, like I said, power constraints. So anyway, that's a shop update, such as it is. Come back to the door and kind of give you a whole wrap around. Got my snipper, my cutoff tool, I don't know, the grinding. There's going to be a grinding, sanding benches over there. Come around, that steel is going to all go on brackets, shelves up above somewhere, either on that wall or possibly on this wall. Underneath, you got some cabinets for storing stuff. You know, I got some borax in there, some case hardening compound, batteries and such. Bandsaw and welder are going to go over there. Power hammer will be out of the way. Big ladder will be out of the way. Oh, I got 2 of those. That's good. Need those. Anywho, I'm sure I'll cut most of this out because it's gone on long enough. Yeah, that's the shop, man. That's the blacksmith shop. Yeah, I got my my Wi-Fi hotspot just dangling there. That's awesome. Bags for starting the coal forge. Brown paper bags are the best. 1 bag wadded up. I would make the motion, but my hand don't work. Start that coal forge easy. You know, I keep everything, so I got a ton of these little like leaf springs and stuff. I'm not a big knife guy. I'm more of an art guy, but got all this steel for my level 2 Abana certification, and I burned through most of it without success, and gotta redo it. There's a Majestic 3-burner knife maker forge. I don't use it anymore because, man, if you got coal, why would you go here, man? Gas forge is not good. So, yeah, and look, on the remnants of the wall, you can see failures, you know. Rings, welded rings were a level 2 optional thing. Made a lot of those. Obviously, I trap coons and coyotes and stuff, so I got a few skulls. There's a Jormungandr Midgard serpent. You know, got to have some hooks if you're a blacksmith. My wife gives me old t-shirts to use as rags. But, yeah, there's an Andrew Larson rounding hammer. Super awesome. Would recommend, 5 stars. But yeah, it's a mess. Got these coil springs everywhere. Gonna make tools from. But anyway, got to clean house and do stuff. But I'm injured reserve right now. So anyway, that's my shop.